This has such serious legs. This is a warning. Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, if you think you are winning the Premier League next year, if you think you're keeping up with Liverpool, if this deal comes off, no chance. And I rarely say that. I rarely say people have no chance. But right now, 24th of June, 2025, I can't see how anybody else, unless they go big in the transfer window, stops Liverpool. I don't see how they do it. It's as simple and it is as straightforward as that for me. This news has just come out about Alexander Isak potentially joining Liverpool is massive. I'm a United fan. We can't stop Liverpool. I've been speaking about this for a few weeks now. I am gutted when I read this. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. But look, let me just state this now. This comes here from Martin Hardy, who he's a Northern correspondent for the Times and the Sunday Times, one of the most reputable newspapers on the planet. And he says here, Liverpool have the funds to test Newcastle's resolve despite their spending this summer. They still have over 200 million available to spend either side of the financial window that ticks over in generally the 1st of July. They still have the financial might to meet this 200 million pound supposed asking price. It says here that Newcastle are concerned an offer could be made early next month for Isak. So Newcastle now are starting to worry. Newcastle now, publicly they'll say not for sale. Publicly they'll tell you the player's happy. Publicly they will defend themselves. What's being said and what's now being discussed privately is a very different scenario. Very different scenario indeed. There is more to this story as well. It says Newcastle are prepared to make Alexander Isak the best paid player in their history. Now, when you read that headline, if you're a Man United fan like me, you think, oh, thank God Liverpool can't get him. City fans, they'll be confident going into the season, but I'll be thinking, yes, thank you, God, thank you. Arsenal fans, look, they're going to sign a good striker themselves, Arsenal. I think they're going to have a very good summer. I don't think they should be written off as of today. But they don't want Isak going to Liverpool. So Newcastle are preparing to make him the highest paid player in their history. The problem is when you just read that headline, you sit there, you have a little read the headlines, you go, oh, look, Newcastle are going to make Isak the highest paid player in their history. It's over. Then you stop. Your eyes wander down. It says here, any contract offer from Newcastle would not match the highest salary at Anfield, with the club still constrained by Premier League's financial profit and sustainability rules. Newcastle hope that their own qualification for the Champions League will act as a factor in the player not seeking a move. Sobering. It's making me dry heave when I read that. It made me dry heave when I read that. Even though Newcastle were going to make him the highest paid player in their history. I spoke about this earlier on Straight Facts on my main channel, the Football Terrace. And I said that I don't think it's about Newcastle not being at a higher level of the game, why they're targeting Elanga and why they didn't get Mbeumo. It's because they're financially restrained. Too many football fans think billionaire owners means you can just spend willy-nilly. Financial fair play stops that. You must, like City have done over the last decade or so, organically grow your revenue. That's the way you do it. They are still being constrained, even with Champions League money. And I'll tell you why. Because there's no guarantee of Champions League money next year. When you see the media write articles about United at the end of the season, where they say, Man United, £150 million, Champions League black hole, how will they cope? It makes everybody, rivals go, ha ha ha, they're in trouble, they've got this massive black hole. Like if you lost £1,500 out of your salary, like you and I would be in real serious trouble. But that's because it's what we've budgeted. We budget for our baseline salary. When football clubs budget for a 2 to 3 to 4 year period, they run on two. They have their main budget, which doesn't include money from Europe. Why? You have to plan for the worst case scenario. What if we don't qualify? What if something happens, like the world shuts down again, and we're not playing the games and we're not getting the TV money? You have to be prepared. You can't have... Villa took a risk last year, spending 97% of their turnover on salaries. Now they're in financial difficulties because they didn't win and or re-qualify for the Champions League. So Newcastle can't just look at that Champions League money and go, well, we'll sign 4 or 5 players, we'll renew 3 or 4 contracts and pay them what United and City and Liverpool and PSG can afford to pay. Because if they don't qualify for the Champions League next year, which is a possibility, then they do have a black hole that cannot be filled, because there would no longer be the income to service the new debt, the debt being the salaries they've committed to. There'd be nothing to service that with. They'd have to sell loads of players and it would take them backwards. So they have to do little and often. And this is why Liverpool have a chance. Newcastle are not in a position where they can just turn this... Newcastle are not in a position where they can just turn this down willy-nilly. Equally, we haven't even factored in whether Isak's head's going to be turned. And the fact is, the reports, and this is such a credible report, the talk of him to Liverpool has been around for 4 months and it hasn't been shut down. Liverpool have not been deterred. The price keeps going up. Liverpool keep pushing on forward, talking to the players' camp. They've got the funds to do it, even at the new inflated £200 million mark. And you can bet your bottom dollar, Liverpool will not be paying full whack. They never do. Fantastic negotiators. But the sobering point is this: Liverpool have got an abundance of money to spend. Newcastle do not, even with Champions League money. They cannot afford to sign the 3, 4, 5 players to make the squad better and give Isak the kind of money a Liverpool could. Now, some will say it would set Newcastle back to let Isak go. That's not how life works. Sometimes you need to cut a piece of yourself off to grow. And with the Champions League money and maybe £150 million of income from Isak, Newcastle might look at that and go, actually, yes, we're losing a potent striker. But if we invest well in a new striker, say a Mateta, who only scored about 7 or 8 goals less in a much worse team last year, plus you go out and buy a brilliant right winger, another midfielder that improves that midfield to another level. You go out and get yourself a world-class goalkeeper. You go and get a world-class centre-back. If you go and do that and you pay him the going rate, and now you can afford to pay that salary for the whole of that 5-year contract, with or without Champions League football, you may see a better team. And history has shown this. Liverpool are a prime example. When they lost Coutinho, he was their best player. But the way they reinvested that money made them a better team. The irony with Liverpool being involved. This deal is on. And this is a warning. Anybody who thinks it's impossible for this to happen, you are absolutely wrong. Liverpool pulling off this deal, it scares the living daylights out of me. Liverpool, please stop this. Newcastle, do something. Stop this. Do not allow this to happen. Do not allow this to happen. Because the Premier League title race, in my opinion, will be over before it started. Listen, people, hit the like and the share button. Make sure you are subscribing to this channel here. Check out my main channel as well, the Football Terrace. It'd be great to see you over there. Oh, Liverpool.